Thank you for joining us on the porch. I'm State Representative Jane Garibay, representing the 60th District, Windsor and Windsor Locks. And today we have a special guest with us, our Mayor, Donald Trinks. Hi, Don.
Good morning, Jane.
Good to have you here today on this
Thank you.
Beautiful day,
Thank you.
right?
I broke my general rule for you of going 5 months without a haircut. So
Man bun. Yeah. So today we're here to talk about, there's so many topics that we could talk about, but we're going to talk about the Amazon project that's, applied to come into Windsor, because if you're out on Facebook, you see so many different facts and different things going on. So I thought it would be good if you could bring to the public what's actually happening.
Okay. Well, I certainly understand the public's reaction. Amazon, probably the largest company in the world, but they do want to open another distribution center here in town. Their plan is to be up on Kennedy Road on the old Thrall property, right along Route 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've submitted and have been approved from Planning and Zoning. The Economic Development Commission looked at the plan and said that the plan does fit the criteria for a tax abatement of some sort. They didn't endorse the project. They didn't approve of the project. They just said that the project does fit the criteria. So, and it's another important level that we have to cross in any economic development. So the Amazon, and of course what stirred a lot of people up was Amazon asked for a 7-year, 100% tax abatement, which means for 7 years their plan was not to pay any taxes to the town. Well, nobody on the council even would consider that. And of course, it goes back to the theory of if you sell a car and you want $5,000 for it, you ask $5,800.
Right.
See what you can get from there. So, they knew. I had the opportunity to chat with the representative from Amazon, and they knew from day one that 7 years, 100% was just pie in the sky. So we've had it at the Finance Committee. We've had it at the Council for an initial discussion. I've had discussions with them, and Monday night, the 15th, we will discuss it at the council meeting, and it's my anticipation that there'll be a vote on it.
Okay, and can people virtually go in and hear that council meeting?
Absolutely. Not only can they hear it, but
see it.
They can see it. They can participate.
Okay.
We have public communication at the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting, and they can go in and there are instructions online how to participate in the council meeting. So they can come in and give their opinion at the beginning and give their opinion at the end of the council.
Well, and yeah, you hear from people all the time, well, how did that business get into town, or how did this happen? And we have guidelines that are reviewed and the town follows. And so they met all the guidelines that way. Now it was just deciding on, if you could agree on a package, correct?
That's absolutely correct. It could be any company. And any company that comes in and fits the guidelines. We have about maybe 6 or so other companies that have or currently have an abatement in progress. Some of the things that I've heard is that, well, they're going to get the abatement and they're going to skip out on town. Boy is still here. Walgreens is still here. Emhart Glass is still here. It's a tool. And if I can, Jane, I just want to touch the big question that everybody has, and I absolutely understand it,
right,
is why? Why would a arguably trillion-dollar company need the equivalent of about $10 million from the town of Windsor? And I said, I guess the simple answer is because they can. It's a very competitive, to draw businesses into town, any town is almost cutthroat. It's so competitive, and they know, emotion aside, they know that there are other towns that could give them better deals.
Right.
They had a great deal up in Syracuse, just outside of Syracuse. but that town had really no other commercial base.
Right.
So, and when you, abatement is really twofold. It's the building taxes and it's the personal property
And the
tax.
building fees,
And I didn't read
the construction fees, those get up close
building
to
permits.
$800,000, if I remember from the first Amazon on Day Hill Road.
Yeah, this one, 100% of the building fee would be over $2 million.
Right. So I do get the people that think they should be able to pay more an hour. I do get that. You know, they're, like you said, the biggest company, but they do get medical, dental, and optical on the first day of work. There's a tuition reimbursement program. And I know with the first Amazon up on Day Hill Road, you know, at first it was originally 400 to 500 employees. In the holidays, it's 1,700 employees.
Yeah, and they don't have a problem filling them.
They don't. And is it a job that I might like? I don't think so. You know, it's very rote. But having said that, if you need a job,
Sure.
and we're going to need jobs, they say 40% of people will not get their jobs back.
And
those medical benefits, until change is made, they're so important.
Right. And to that point, Jane, we're going to be seeing such, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but the reality is, because of this pandemic, we're going to find that businesses may realize that they don't need 40,000 square foot of office. They can do it in 10,000 square feet. They're going to have more virtual. And what I think Windsor and lots of other communities are going to see is a high vacancy rate among office space. You know, and then that drives down our grand list growth in town, which means, you know, we'll collect less money from the commercial side. And when we lose money on the commercial side, it falls back to the personal, the homeowner. I think you're going to find that when and if Amazon opens up there, they're not going to get that person who maybe is just starting out in the business world, or the 26-and-a-half-year-old who needs a job with benefits. And while that's very appropriate, I think we're going to find people that were in professional positions that are going to take these jobs because the benefits
and we
are there.
forget it's not just the $15 an hour jobs. There are other jobs going up. Am I correct?
Absolutely. You and I both know a success story up on Day Hill Road. Somebody from Windsor that started at the base level and has worked himself up. And we know that it happens because, you know, they have turnover like any other company, and they are constantly promoting from within. And, you know, while we're on the other than financial aspects of it, so you get $15 an hour, you get 100% from day one medical coverage benefit, which could be anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 a year in value. After a year, you have tuition reimbursement, and that's not just tuition to do a job at Amazon. You could, if you're interested in nursing, Amazon, after a year's service there, will help you pay your medical school or school costs to achieve a career outside of Amazon.
Because they go to the 10 most needed jobs, and if you choose one from there, which medical is one of them.
Absolutely. And we know for a fact that after this COVID, the need for nurses and healthcare workers is going to increase, because quite frankly, nurses are godsends, they're angels, these healthcare workers, but you know, some of them who even accept the fact that when they go into these positions, they have to face death. It's inevitable, just not to this scale. And I think it's going to take its toll on the healthcare workers.
That's what I've heard.
So we're going to find ourselves there. And then now you've got a company that's willing to pay that. Whoops. I guess I forgot to take that off mute. So they're very committed to veterans.
Absolutely.
Their hiring practices for veterans, I don't know that any other company that I've seen or talked to is the same commitment to them.
Tell me if I'm wrong. When I remember back to the first Amazon, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, going up, they got a tax abatement for a certain amount of years. But again, the building fees was huge. And they were paying property tax at that same time. So it's not like it was like 1.5 million the first year in property taxes. Then it went down a little bit the second year. Then they built another building behind. So we're still reaping in tons of money tax-wise.
And
I think people, they say, well, you got to decide, is the money worth it? But if we have townspeople that don't have jobs and can't pay their house taxes, I mean, it's far beyond just the jobs. It's then how does that trickle down? This will help mediate that. Am I correct?
absolutely. With that kind of influx of tax money to the town, we can take that and spread it among, as we try to do, the 29,000 people here in Windsor, to mitigate any tax increases, at least during that period of time.
Right.
You know, these numbers are, for a municipality, they're staggering. And I've always joked over that town selectmen, managers, and mayors would give their left arm to have an economic opportunity like this. We are looking as a municipality, again, at a very, very unsure, unstable state financial situation. The state is, which we appreciate, devoting a lot of resources to helping people get along and get through this through unemployment and continuing benefits. But the state's got a limited amount of resources as well. You know, we as a town are concerned over, you know, money that we get from the state for roads and for education assistance and you know, special projects, road work, again, like as that. So with that risk out there, that fear, you know, we've got a stable employer, business coming to Windsor, who's only going to get bigger and bigger, as we found out through this pandemic. And I just try to caution people, don't get emotional because of who the company is
and how much money he earns a year. You know,
right. Who makes him rich?
Right.
Who makes Amazon successful? It's all of us.
Right.
Gosh, my daughter should be a stockholder.
Right. Well, I've heard from constituents from both Windsor and Windsor Locks that support, you know, Amazon coming in with more jobs. Also, some work up at the Amazon now on Day Hill Road. And I know Amazon tries to hire locally, you know, Windsor and the towns right around it. They don't want someone that lives in New Haven and has to travel up in the snow, or the car breaks down and there's no transportation. You know, if you live in Windsor, someone can give you a ride up, or, you know. What about the location? Does it affect? It seems perfect right on the highway. They won't have to use back roads. They're near the airport.
Yeah, well, interesting. In my first conversation with them, I pointed out point blank that we know the value of that location to them. Amazon is a very time-driven company. I don't know if you recall, but back in when we were meeting with them on the first one, they were telling me about a computer program they have to maximize the efficiency of the trucks that were leaving there. That when an Amazon truck is loaded, you could barely put a piece of paper in between the boxes. It's extraordinary. So time is very important to them. And with the proximity to Route 20, that gives them quick access to Boston, to New York, to the major highways, so they can stay on that commitment to time. So we know that, you know, and then it just felt like it had to be pointed out that, you know, we know the value to them of that location. A quick shot out of their property onto Route 20, you know what, and I'm not naive enough to think that we're not going to get an errant stray truck that takes a right out of there and finds itself in front of Target and Menchie's in that area, or Kennedy Road. It's going to happen. We know that. But I think it's going to be so small, and the negative impact on the town roads is going to be negligible. It really, again, they have no vested interest in going off and detouring down side roads. They are time driven, and that costs time, that costs money, and they're going to be on it to make sure that the drivers are keeping to their normal schedule.
Right. And I know Jim Burke, the economic development director for the town, works with businesses and has tried to, you know, write letters, call them, encourage them, anyone with trucking, to use, you know, get on I-91 and don't go down Pequannock Avenue. And like you said, there's always some that don't listen or aren't from a company up on Day Hill Road.
Well, we're going to get that, and we absolutely. But the flip side is I'll call it Amazon Day Hill, used a lot of local businesses when they were finally set up for landscaping, for food, for other kind of services. So you have somebody like that that's in town, and now and again, I'll full disclosure, we're a million square foot facility. We can't hire Ed and Sons Plumbing to do. They need larger, which tend to be union, by the way.
Right. I did work with them with the first one, and at my last count was 17 of our local businesses, from printing to signs to landscaping. Any place they could, I would get a call and say, who do you know, from restaurants, I forget. I really think it was like 800 party pizzas, and 3 shifts during the day for one of our restaurants.
Yeah.
And I will say they now help with Project Santa, which, as you know, is important to me. And we can just encourage them to be more involved. They do have a seat on the board of directors of the chamber, and help their largest paying dues for the chamber. So,
and you'll recall they did their first 3 job fairs in Windsor.
Yep.
Which showed their commitment that they're trying to apply. And we didn't fill the positions just from Windsor. The numbers just didn't work. But they were out there and they were advertised, and so certainly anybody from Windsor that's looking for a job and for whatever reason, circumstances in their lives, I can pretty much attest that they look to within first when it comes to promotions. And they do, as the point you made earlier, that they want people from this area, because it's not good for business to have people turning out, not calling in because of snow or whatever it is. That hurts business. And look, they're a business-oriented, speed-oriented company. They've made their success by people like you and I, who use the service that they provide. And it's not easy work, but I think the rewards that people get in return for it, the benefits alone, I know what I pay.
6 months ago, I might have felt a little bit differently, but the way it is in the jobless rate, et cetera, and the health insurance for me is a big concern for people. And hopefully sometime in the near future, we'll be able to make change so that all people are covered. But until then, I do worry about people having insurance coverage.
Well, and I hope that as well.
Yeah. What about the neighborhood, Don? Is it going to affect any of the residential area?
There are some, I will admit. The Strawberry Hills area, one side, the east side of Lighthouse Hill. But I know that Jim Burke has been leading the charge to try to do everything we can for the noise mitigation, any sightline issues. And, I get it. If you bought a house up there and you're used to seeing a tobacco field with barns, very bucolic setting, and now you're going to have an 8th-floor building. I absolutely get that. And we are working with Amazon to make sure that they stay with their commitment to do everything they can. We're talking trying to get mature trees put in rather than having to wait 10 years for a tree to grow. There's always impact in some way, shape, or form, but we are doing everything we can. First of all, we get it. We understand that.
Right.
And we're doing everything we can to mitigate it, not just the traffic piece of it, but the noise and the sightline issues for people's houses. I'm not far from 91, and there are nights that there's a low ceiling and that noise is just through the roof. You've got the train. We've all got something near us that affects our quality of life, but it's our charge on the town council to mitigate that down to the minimum level.
Right. So the meetings when again?
Monday night at 7:30, Monday the 15th of June, town council. And again, you can access the information how to do like we're doing here. Meeting is virtual, and we're trying to get as many people involved as we can. So the instructions are very clear on how to you can either, again, watch it, you can participate. You go through, I don't know if it's Zoom,
right.
It is a virtual meeting where you put your hand up, and Scott Colby, our assistant town manager, moderates that. And at the beginning of the meeting, there's public comment, and at the end of the meeting,
Right.
there's public comment.
And as I'm thinking now, this show probably won't air before that date, but we'll get out the word as much as we can. I'm sure the Chamber and First Town Downtown and on our personal Facebook pages. And I know the town does a good job of promoting it also, so that people can attend and, have a voice one way or another. And I wish the council luck in making the decision. And in the end, whatever you choose, or whichever way the vote comes through, that it be for the best of Windsor.
Always. We always try to put everything we do in a perspective of what's the best thing for the town. And, sometimes they're not popular, but it will always come out okay, because we really do vet out, who we give these abatements to. And during the process of planning, always put everything we have on the table and let them know. We're asking them to look into solar.
Right. Our climate action team has been on that one, which is great.
Yeah. And of course, this poor guy that we're dealing with really is, he's doing the siting of it. He's trying to find a location. But they did do that up on Amazon Day Hill. It was after the fact, after they built it, and then they'd go in and retro it for that. So you got to figure a company that's successful, if solar is the way to go, that's the way they're going to go.
Right.
So looking forward to it. I really, truly, in my heart, think this is a very good fit for the town of Windsor. Its location, its value it brings, the community value that it brings, and then to those that don't like the project simply because it's Amazon, stop using them. Right. we are how they made their money, and I can't begrudge the guy for being successful. Certainly in my world, I would love for he and the Warren Buffetts and the Zuckerbergs to be giving a lot more of their value to charity, but we can only keep suggesting.
I have to be honest, I'm sure that these large companies do, just like I know Google does, and they do. So I can't really comment on whether they do or they don't, because I haven't researched it. And that's why I appreciate you coming on the show. I know there's been a lot of different facts out there. And I hope this helps people to understand, at least when they're making their decision, whether they're for or against, or their thoughts, that they have the facts to base that on.
Yeah, and I can tell you, everybody, all 9 of the council that were elected in by the townspeople are spending a lot of time vetting this through. So whatever it is decided, or now if this is after the fact, whatever we did decide was absolutely in the best interest of the town.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I want to thank Howard and Jenny also.
Yes, thank you.
And everybody from tuning in Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock. And hope to see everyone next week with another exciting On the Porch. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Jane.